people see my physique today and they think I have it all figured out. I'm pretty lean. I've been maintaining a lean physique for a while now. So people ask me how I do it. And no matter what I say, all they always assume is it must be genetics. He was always like that. He's lucky. I'm not going to say I have bad genetics. I think my genetics are okay. But what people don't know is I actually did not always look like this. I wasn't always lean. In fact, I was far from it. And it's been 11 years so far, and I've made so many mistakes along the way, more mistakes than I can even count. So I'm going to tell you about one of those major mistakes so you guys can learn from it and not do it yourself. And that's about my first failed bulk. So when I started lifting in around end of 2005, beginning 2006, I was around like the mid 150s. I ended up cutting because I always wanted abs, and I got down to about 140 pounds. You can see in this picture here where I was 140, I had abs, and I was actually pretty happy with my physique at this point. But I did want to get bigger like we all do, and I went on the bodybuilding.com forums, asked people what to do, and everyone said I needed to bulk. So at that point it was either a clean bulk or a dirty bulk, what they said. I did a clean bulk, but at that point a clean bulk didn't mean eating several hundred calories over your maintenance. A clean bulk basically just meant eat as much as possible of clean food that you can. And that's really what I did. So even though I was eating structured meal plans, about 6 meals per day, I was eating way more over my maintenance than I should have been, probably in the 5,000 calories per day when my maintenance was under 3,000 calories per day. And as you can imagine, I gained roughly 2 to 3 pounds per week, and I did that for about 6 months. So in 6 months, I went from about 140 pounds all the way up to 195 pounds, and you can see that in the picture that I'll throw up on the screen here. And you might think I don't look that bad, but do keep in mind, I don't store a lot of fat in my abs, so the fact that I look this fat from the front, just keep in mind what I could have looked like from the back, because my abs aren't even that fat in this picture compared to the rest of me, and I'm not pushing out in this picture or anything. It looks like I'm like trying to push out my stomach. That's what I look like actually with my abs flexed in this picture, if I remember correctly. So yeah, in about 6 months, I gained 55 pounds. And from that point, the goal was actually to get to 200 pounds. So I stopped short because at this point I started getting stretch marks on my arms. I'll put a picture here where you can see the stretch marks looking really bad. They don't look nearly like that anymore. I still have them here. I don't know if you could see it in the video, but they've faded pretty significantly over time. But I still do have them, and they're never going to go away completely. So at that point, I needed to cut, right? You bulk, you cut. That's how it works. So I started cutting, and it went well in the beginning. I was losing weight, but then I got to a point where I stalled, and to continue losing weight, I really needed to drop my calories very low, and I was still not really losing weight. So I was trying everything. I was doing keto, which sucked, by the way. I was doing a lot of cardio, and I was losing weight, but I kept stalling, and during this time, I felt so small, I felt so tired, I felt so weak, but I had to keep going. Because, I mean, I started with a physique that I was satisfied with. I gained all this weight, got fat, and now I'm stuck somewhere in the middle where I'm not big, I'm not lean, and I mean, I needed to keep going. I couldn't put all this time in the gym just to have a worse physique than when I started. So I kept doing the cardio, I kept cutting, I kept going, and I'll show you a picture here. This is 6 months after what it eventually led to, and I was very happy with how I looked here, but keep in mind, I went from 195, I think I was in like the 150s here maybe, and I'm still not as lean as where I started. So in about a year, I did gain, I would say roughly maybe 10 pounds of muscle, but that 10 pounds of muscle, it wasn't worth it the way I did it. I could have just done it slowly. I could have avoided the massive cut that I had to do. I could have avoided the stretch marks. I could have avoided getting fat. But you also have to keep in mind, right now with these pictures, you're seeing the end, you're seeing the beginning. Keep in mind, in between all this, I'm walking around as a pretty fat kid. So the whole point of this is to look good. And if you're bulking all this time during the year and you don't look good, what are you really doing it for? You're only going to look good for a few months of the year. So yeah, you see at the end, maybe I look okay, but this was a year into the whole process, and up until that point, I did not look good, I did not feel good, and I was very uncomfortable. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about bulking and cutting, because even if at the end maybe you could say, okay, it wasn't so bad, during the whole process it's pretty miserable, and you don't need to do that. So like I was saying, I was eating way more above my maintenance calories than I should have been. I should have eaten about 300 calories over maintenance, and rather than gaining about 3 pounds per month, 3 pounds per week, I should have been trying to gain 3 pounds per month. That way I would have started at 140, and maybe by the end of the year I could have been at a 152 and not have put on that much fat. Instead, by the end of the year, I gained about the same amount of weight, but the whole process in between then wasn't too fun. So yeah, that's my failed bulk. I do think that most people do need to go through a failed bulk themselves before they ever take someone's advice like what I'm giving you right now. But if you can avoid that, just try to. It's really hard to see without experiencing it yourself what I mean, because unfortunately a lot of people go on a failed bulk because they think, oh, I'm gonna get big, strong, it's gonna be great, then I'll cut it later. But the thing people overlook is the cutting part sucks, and it's not as easy as you think, and it never goes as well as it seems like it will on paper. So that's the lesson for you guys. Bulk slowly. Never try to gain too much weight. Yeah, today it all worked out for me, but I was at some pretty lows at that point when I was cutting the way I was feeling, and I really wanted to quit lifting altogether. I didn't know if it was even worth it. So don't do that to yourself. Just keep it slow. Don't go through extremes. And I hope you could take something away from this video. So if you guys like this video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.